Don't stop, keep going. The many eyes fixed on this side made the horizontal team want to stop. At this time, Lily gave another order. What she wants is effective range. Magic sword can spit flames, burning the enemy camp's bombardment range. With the illusion that with each step the troop would lose a little bit of life, they ordered the march with a spirit of steel. Advance. The faction's coalition forces advanced. Do not move. The tough warrior didn't move a muscle. Go on. Sweat trickled down the side of the little Paolum girl's face. Do not move. The face of the Elven military division has not changed. Go ahead. A drop of liquid fell from the girl's jaw. Do not move. The military advisor's eyes will never misunderstand the separation distance. Next. In the next moment. Herb tea. The roar of war reached the sky. Here we go. Bors shouted loudly when he saw the strong warriors who had changed from a motionless state to a stormy wave. Magic sword, get ready. Tsubaki's roar rang out from the center, causing the nearly cowering adventurers to mount their magic swords together. Not yet. Don't shoot yet. Aisha on the left watched the moment of the bombardment. The enemy didn't fire magic. Because the range is not enough, everyone stay calm. Daphne on the right announced the results of her own analysis. In horizontal team battles in the Age of Gods, when the battle started, magic used to fly instead of arrows. But not now. In other words, the enemy was too wary of Kratzo's demon sword and ultimately couldn't hold back. In Daphne's eyes, this is the case. However, the ever-looming threat was real. The killing weapon, the scream of the beast, not to mention the acceleration caused by that ferocious skill. Scattered attacks that don't consider binding are like raging waves. Freya family members who are exhausted in the battle of the desert every day do not think about their comrades. They just want to use their weapons to penetrate the enemy, fighting to defeat the faction's coalition forces. Uka and Chikusa, who held the magic sword tightly in their hands, couldn't help but feel a little disheartened when they saw this charge as a crooked mountain of swords. Not yet. Approaching. Arriving. Gathering. As long as there is no distance left, your side will be devastated in an instant. Facing the strongest warriors, he felt the strong pressure that made his tongue dry, but he still survived this seemingly endless moment. Not yet, now. Then. Bors spattered his saliva, his veins bulged, and he gave orders. Fire. Tsubaki's firing signal also coincided with it. Immediately. Countless magic swords spewed out flames. Explosive flames, blizzards, storms and strong winds exploded at the advancing army. The 7-colored cannon flashes of different systems intertwined, turning into a violent torrent of magic power, completely erasing the mournful screams from the direct hit on the Freya Familia. Explosion and impact. The stone slabs paved into the ground cracked and all the urban ruins shook. Bombarding wave after wave. The large army's salvo set off a chain reaction, instantly creating a flood of destruction. Faced with the contradictory and overwhelming irrationality of the rapid-fire cannon, not even the Freya Familia could avoid it. The famous second-tier adventurers became the bait of the magic sword and were swallowed by the glowing vortex. All Kratzo's demonic swords are much more powerful than the long magic text of senior mages. In addition to the magic sword made by the Hephaestus Familia, the firepower has expanded to the point of excess. This pure heat might even be able to of suppressing the deep layers of the dungeon. The sight of widespread annihilation made even the adventurers who wielded the Kratzo's demon sword shudder. However, this astonishment was immediately replaced by fear. Be it burning skin or losing a weapon. Whether there's only one hand left or a busted foot. The familiars of the goddess of beauty do not stop. Cassandra even forgot she was a healer, hugging her staff tightly and screaming. The mercilessly burned humanoids are still rushing this way. The dwarf with icicles growing on his body, and the Amazon holding the arm cut by the blade of the wind, no matter how much they were thrown, they got up one by one, and some even stepped on the body of their companions, running towards the faction coalition forces. Strong warrior. Daphne couldn't take it anymore and screamed. The army that is still attacking in this hellish scene could be called the Berserker. Freya Familia, not afraid of death. They repeated the process of dying with them day and night in the wilderness of battle and were truly raised from the dead. Therein lies the horror. There is also pain. But the tenacious goddess forcibly suppressed him with her immaculate loyalty and undisguised fighting instinct. So they won't stop. Under the fierce flames of the magic sword, they were still running with all their might, trying to fight. Therefore, they are warriors who do not fear death. Seeing this trick that only the Freya Familia can pull off, one of the reasons why it's called the strongest faction, all the adventurers lost their blood and were too scared to move. Afraid, what are you afraid of? Destroy them. Shoot. Shoot. Keep shooting. Bors roared in fear, but it had an effect. It was precisely because it was a reckless and simple order that the adventurers reflexively obeyed it. Once they lowered it, they raised it again, praying for the death of the death-defying warrior and desperately unleashing wave after wave of artillery fire. If the sword's body cracked or broke, the adventurers who were waiting in the back row would step forward and make the new magic sword roar. Without passing through the mirror of God, the sound of the cannons, like a volcanic eruption, passed directly through the steep mountains to Ororio, making the shoulders of many people tremble. Wow, so scary. It really is a war. But, that's the only way Hestia and the others can win. In addition to the trembling people, the gods in the Tower of Babel also expressed their thoughts. The sound of cannons roared one after another, and the vibrations spread throughout Mountain Beer. The surface of the mountain trembled, and even the monsters that inhabited it were afraid, far from the great lake of the depression. Then, when the number of Kroso's demon sword that was gradually crushed was almost half. When the huge amount of smoke, sparks, cold air, electric breeze and different colored light particles quietly dissipated, on the battlefield, where even the stone slabs were completely destroyed, countless strong warriors fell. It's done. You deserve it, Freya Familia. It took tens of seconds to confirm that the enemy would not resist, Bors he continued laughing excitedly. What tough warriors. We have the demonic sword of Kroso in our hands. His laughter spread, and the other adventurers who were out of breath began to applaud one after another. The tough warrior is not afraid of death, but he is not immune to death either. They are not beyond existence. Then the limit will come. This time, the firepower of Kroso's demon sword surpassed the tenacity of the warriors, that's all. The forces of the coalition of factions are seething. Although there are no first-year adventurers from the enemy army among them, most of their combat power has been cut off. Judging by the results ahead of you, the outpost can be described as a complete victory. Members of the various factions raised their broken sword hilt and shouted loudly. Only a few of them frowned. Although there is only this method, it is not even a tactic, and the behavior of relying on firepower to force a breakthrough is still complicated. Daphne and Aisha are like that. The invincible myth. Damn. Among them, Welf, who mass-produced Kroso's demon sword, had a bitter look on his brows. Welf's hometown, Kingdom of Rakia, used to wage wars with many countries with countless, magic swords of Kratzo, turning various lands into scorched earth. The devastation it caused led many elves to hold a grudge and were even cursed by the elves. The scene in front of you is the same as the one that established the myth of the invincibility of the Kingdom of Rakia. At least that's how Welf sees it. In the end, I did the same thing as that country. Walking in the same path as the kingdom he once despised made Welf feel a violent self-loathing. However, there was a misunderstanding in Welf's heartbreak. Welf's interpretation is different. Welf's cognition is very naive. A loud war cry resounded from all sides as it ended. What was reflected in his right eye was Freya's family, who fell to the ground one by one after the broken stone slabs were lifted. And countless particles of golden light like the color of twilight.